Hello. We're going to do a quick walkthrough of the most recent W-4. Um, I'm not recording how I normally record, so it's going to look a little wonky when I share screens, so just kind of bear with me. The first step in actually preparing to prepare the W-4 is going to the tax withholding estimator because you want to ensure that you are putting in the correct information or that your client is putting in the correct information. So notice that if you have a pension but not a job, if you have a non-resident alien status, or if your tax situation is strange and complex, don't use this tool. But for normal people working a normal job, this tool would be the easiest way to ensure that they are taking out enough taxes so that you do not end up with tax liability. As you see, it's interactive, so you would select your normal filing status. For the sake of this demonstration, I'm just going to select single. It's going to ask you, do you or will you have a job that regularly withholds federal income taxes? Even though I do not, I'm going to say yes. It's going to ask, are you 65? Are you blind? Can you be claimed as a dependent on someone else's return? Or if you plan to claim dependents on your return. The majority of our clients that work and need this probably have dependents, so I'm going to select this one just for the sake of demonstration. I'm going to hit next. We're going to come down and it's going to ask how many jobs will you have. For the sake of demonstration, I'm going to say one. It's going to ask you, is it salary or hourly? I'm going to say hourly. It's going to ask me, did I have it all year? Is it a portion of the year? If you had the job earlier this year but don't now, or if you don't have a job yet, you expect to start later. I'm going to say it's all year. I'm going to also say that I get paid every 2 weeks. And it's going to ask me my most recent pay period. I'm going to say what? I'm going to say last Friday. Um, and it wants to know how is it a good representation. If they make the same amount pretty much every week, you're going to select, of course, the first option. If they vary from week to week because their hours vary from week to week, you're going to select that option. But I'm going to go ahead and keep it simple. And I'm going to say, oh goodness, I don't know the going minimum wage. I think it's up to $10. So I'm going to base it on $10 and I'm going to say 400. No, I said every 2 weeks. So let me go back and I'm going to say 800 just for the sake of getting through this. And I'm going to say that I'm relatively new at the job. Let's say we're going to say our year to date we're at 2,800. Just for the sake of demonstration. So it's asking me, does it look like 10,800 would be probably the annual income? Is this correct? For the sake of the information I put on, I'm going to say yes. It's going to ask the amount of federal taxes that have been withheld and how much has been paid year to date. I'm going to say 10 just because don't want to hold you up in this portion of the process, and I'm going to say 250. It's going to ask, do I contribute to a 401k, have a health plan, get bonus, got a bonus already, or none of the above? I'm going to say none of the above. It's going to ask, do you have a scholarship or grant, unemployment, self-employment, investment income, other taxable income. So if your person is self-employed, in addition to having the job, click self-employed. If they're getting unemployment, click it. If they're getting one of these, it is important to click it. For the sake of the demonstration, I'm going to say I don't have any of these, but the reason that you would click them if they have them is they're going to ask for the income and they're going to tell you how much you need to have withdrawn to ensure that you have covered both sets of income. So it's going to ask, do you have any student loan interest, educator expense, any of these things that you are responsible for or that come out of your check? If none, we're going to go ahead and hit next. Therefore, it's going to ask you, do you go standard or itemized? For the sake of life, I'm going to say standard. But if you had selected itemized, it would ask you what expenses you actually claim. Most of our clients are in an income bracket if they're getting W-2s where they probably don't have enough expenses to qualify to itemize unless you have more high dollar clients. Okay, and it's asking if your itemized deductions are less than your standard, the tool will use standard. We already know that that's how it works anyway when we're doing taxes. So we're going to come over here and it's going to talk to us about our child tax credits. They want to know how old the kid will be. We're going to say that the kid is going to be 9. They want to know if they're eligible for child and dependent care credit. Do they go to daycare? We're going to say that one child does. They're going to say how much is your work-related child care expenses. We're going to say 150, well, maybe 500. Yeah. And we're going to earn income credit tax. We still only have the one kid. We don't have any adoption tax, foreign tax, or any of the rest of these things going on. But notice the questions. Are they in school? Is there retirement savings? Are they a homeowner? Are you a homeowner? They ask all these questions. I'm going to skip them and hit next. And the results say that if I don't change my withholding, I'm likely to get a refund of this amount. But if the numbers were different, it would tell me if you do not change your withholding, you are likely to owe. And it will show if you owe, if you're going to break even, or if you're going to have a refund. It's important to go through this step first because if the W-4 is filled out correctly the first time, it makes it much more easy to either break even or have a refund versus owing. Okay, so now we're going to go over to the W-4. The W-4 is pretty standard from the top portion. Of course, it's going to ask for personal information. But on forms past, this area was asking you about exemptions, etc. Doesn't ask you this anymore. At this point, what it wants to know in step 2 is, do you have multiple jobs or do you have a spouse that works? So if you have multiple jobs, more than one job, or your spouse has a job, then they want you to do one of the following. Go to the estimator, which is what we just went to and walked through. Use the multiple jobs form worksheet, which is down on page 3, which we will go down to, and enter the result in step 4. If there are only 2 jobs total, you can check this box. If on your second job, on their W-4, you would do the same. To make sure that there's accuracy for every job, you're going to want to have a W-4. If you or your spouse have self-employment income, including as an independent contractor, you're going to want to use the estimator that we just walked through. Step 3 looks a lot like child tax credit, right? They want, if your income will be 200 grand or less, in this box, you're going to multiply the number of children you have by 200. If for married couples, of course, it's 400 or less. If you have other dependents that are 17 and up, that don't qualify for child tax credit, you're going to multiply the number of them by 500. Well, what else could be other dependents? In a lot of cases, people claim their parents, maybe a step parent, someone that they take care of. Of course, if they're over the legal age of 17, they would be an other, and you would count them. You would multiply them by the 500 and put that here. You're going to take your total and, of course, put it over here. If you have other income that is not from jobs, and you want to withhold enough taxes to cover the other income that you have, you're going to enter in the amount of income here. So if you're expecting to make 10 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand, 40 grand in your side hustle that they don't take taxes from, but you want to make sure that you take out enough taxes to cover it, you're going to put the amount here. This is optional, but it can help you to avoid liability, and it was not offered previously on the W-4. Deductions. If you expect to claim deductions other than standard and want to reduce your withholding, you're going to use the deduction worksheet on page 3 and enter the number here. If you need to have extra withholding and want it withheld every pay period, you're going to put it here. So if normally, just to make sure that you don't have any liability, you want an extra withholding of $10 a paycheck, $5 a paycheck, $50 a paycheck, you're going to put it here. There, here on page 3, as promised, is where you would put in the information for 2 jobs, 3 jobs. To come to the conclusion of the amount you would need to put in line 4C. If you were doing a deductions worksheet, here is the numbers, the information that you would put here, and the total would go in line 4B on page 1. Here are the tax tables, so you can kind of get a quick overview of what the taxable wage and salary amounts would be. And these is on page 4 of your form W. That is a very quick overview of the W-4 form. Like I said, if you type in to Google paycheck IRS paycheck checkup calculator, it will take you to the estimator. Or if you go on the IRS site and look up 2022 W-4 form, in the instructions, it will have a link to the estimator. The estimator makes it easier. Putting in all of the information can help save you from having tax, or your client from having tax liability at tax time for that year. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Info at anointedforprosperity.com or go to www.anointedforprosperity.com and book a free consultation. We're here to help you find strong financial health.